Career pivots are hard, no matter what. But nobody ever talks about how challenging it truly can be when your body decides for you that you need to pivot, whether because of an acquired disability or an existing one, or just changes in life circumstances. When you're forced to change your career, it can create so many challenges that nobody teaches you how to get through. Hi, I'm Emma, and this is Realistic Resilience. Here we explore what it's like to navigate the world and the workplace with disabilities, sharing stories and insights that nobody else is saying out loud, so you don't have to figure it out alone. Before I share my story, I want to say that I am so thankful for the privilege to have gotten to pivot careers. I know so many people with disabilities and without that face so many challenges in trying to make these kinds of pivots. And I feel really lucky that I pivoted when I did and was able to do so successfully, especially from a Michelin-star chef to an AI consultant, two careers that are both sought after and challenging to get into. And I was not only able to get into one, but navigate my way to a second. I'm hoping that I can share some of the tips and tricks that allowed me to get to this point, and hopefully it will be helpful for you as well. See, I didn't want to stop cooking. I grew up wanting to open a restaurant and be a chef. I started cooking in restaurants when I was 12. I went to a high school focused on culinary arts and fully proceeded into college with a plan to continue to cook. I had the chance to work in Michelin-star restaurants, cook on Food Network Chopped, came in second. I still don't know how to bake. But all of these things, I didn't want to give it up. For a few years, I told people, I just kind of got sick of cooking and decided to leave because it made me feel better. But in reality, I didn't want to leave it. I loved it. But when push came to shove, I realized over time that the 16 or 18-hour workday, standing on my feet, chopping things for that many hours, it was taking such a toll on my body and my mind. If you think about a standard dinner shift from 3 p.m. until 1 a.m., doing that and then going to high school afterwards, it was just brutal for me. I loved it though. Brutal, but I loved it. I loved all of it. I was diagnosed with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome when I was 16, but symptoms started when I was about 10. So from 12 to 22 while trying to cook, it was a really big challenge between the chronic pain and trying to stand on my feet for that many hours and in the heat of the kitchen. It's really hard with pots to regulate your temperature. All of those things came together to make it nearly impossible to work in the kitchens. I still loved it though. When you invest time, when you invest money, when you invest heart and passion, whether it be into a hobby, a career, an art, anything, a relationship, when you lose that, there is grief that comes with it. So when you leave a job or a role that you love and you have to go find a new one, you have to tackle the grief of giving that up, but you also have to go in with confidence into your next battle. That's hard. That's really hard. What made it easier for me, even amongst all of the grief, was that during my time in kitchens, data always stood out to me. It seemed silly when there would be dramatic amounts of food waste or when we'd have to stop selling a big part of the menu because one ingredient had run out. It seemed like something that could be optimized. So even while working in cooking and chef capacities at these restaurants, many times I would take on small projects just that I wanted to do, specifically to fix things like inventory optimization, menu optimization. What is it that's missing from the menu that would attract more people? How do you tackle larger events from a planning and scheduling perspective? When you think about the inefficiencies of a kitchen, there were a lot of them, and I started to solve them. I didn't believe that there would be a way to continue with restaurants. I just wanted to stay involved, and I realized that this was something I understood, restaurants, where I could also apply what I was learning about data science and computer science, because even the most basic solutions that I was learning in the engineering school could solve massive challenges within hotels and restaurants. So I realized that there was an intersection here that could be explored. So when I realized I needed to take a step back from cooking, I realized that I could really use those skills and that knowledge to start solving bigger problems from outside of the kitchen, even for kitchens themselves. When I was working as a chef, mise en place was critical. It means everything in its place. It means planning ahead. It means being organized. It means thinking about what will be required in order to be successful, all before you ever even pick up a knife or start heating up a pan. That kind of organization and planning is not something that's only used in the kitchen. That operational ease of being able to deal with high stress situations, the ability to plan ahead for lots of different people and lots of different circumstances, all of these things together were components that I didn't want to give up. I worked so hard to develop them in the kitchen, the tolerance to dealing with different people, the high stress situations. But what I realized was that I could start thinking about my role in cooking differently. Not just, I have 10 years of experience in the kitchen, 10 years of experience running a kitchen, 10 years of experience working as a chef in a high pressure situation, but also I have 10 years of leadership and communication experience, 10 years of working with a diverse group of people, 10 years of organizing my notes and recipes, 10 years of practicing the same skill over until it's perfect. Those kinds of core competencies, it might seem like when you cut over to something like data science or consulting, that cooking's not relevant there, but I would argue it absolutely is. What it taught me laid the foundation to be successful, not just working with restaurants, but working in the consulting space in general. So for me, that was the biggest learning. It was, you're not walking away from one career, you're carrying with you the experience from it. What can you take with you? What do you thrive at that you don't have to give up? For me, standing on my feet for 12, 16, 18 hours a day didn't make sense and it wasn't feasible, but still using those skills I developed, why give them up? My chronic pain, I originally thought was completely stopping my career and stopping my trajectory, but it was more so just redirecting me to something different, which at the time felt like such a loss. But that pivot allowed me to explore something else that it not only allowed me to have better work-life balance, but it works better with my doctor's appointments. It provides me a salary far greater than what I was able to get within restaurants. It allowed me to work with other people and really lean into the skills that differentiated me, even in the restaurant. I use the verbiage and communication that I learned in those years every single day of my job now. I wouldn't be the AI consultant I am today if I wasn't the chef then. Does that mean that I am glad I did? No, I wish I could have skipped it. But there's ways to make these transitions. You are not losing you. Maybe your capabilities change. Maybe your tolerance changed. Maybe you just don't want to do it anymore. Whatever it is. It's about finding, how do you transition? How do you carry forward those skills? And how do you really tap into what makes you you? What makes you a great professional? Whatever that looks like. Without the identity of getting to be a chef, I didn't know who I was anymore. It felt like the chronic pain was taking away who I was at the core. It was erasing me. Having to leave one career pushed me to start talking about my disabilities, being open about the realities of my day-to-day and what I really needed in order to be successful, which at that time meant stepping out of the kitchen, at least for a time. A pivot, whether voluntary or a forced pivot, like in my case, they're hard, but it's not a failure. It's a second career. It's not that I gave up on cooking, it's that I moved beyond it. And that took so long to learn, because when you have to leave something that's not only something you love, but part of who you are, it can be hard to find yourself again. So when you start to double click on what does it mean to be a chef, to be a dancer, to be an artist, whatever your thing is that you might have to give up, find within it what makes you love it. Find new outlets that you can use those skills, whether it means a new format of art. For me, it might mean still meal prepping on a weekly basis, sharing what that looks like, sharing food with the people I love, opening up my kitchen to other people, inviting them in, teaching them how to cook. Those are things I do today. It's ways I connect with people. Is it how I make money? No. Is that okay? Yes. I found a job that gives me the ability to be physically successful, mentally happy, fulfilled. I didn't need to sacrifice my body to maintain my identity. I'm still Emma. I'm still a really big foodie and a really big data nerd. Those things haven't changed. How I spend my day-to-day, that part's changed, and that's okay. Sometimes when you're forced to pivot in all of that pain, do know that you're not trying to find something to replace what you did. You're not going to. That was a part of your life that's so special. For me, I'm never going to give up being a chef. Depends who you ask. Some people say, of course, you're still a chef. Once you're a chef, you're always a chef. Others say, if it's not your profession, then that's not you. But to me, I don't think you give up those parts of your identity or those passions or those loves, even if you don't do them anymore. Instead, I think you just find new ways to express those parts of you. For me, I wanted that to be in being a chef, but I realized that that wasn't for me. Making good food, connecting to people through food, teaching people how to improve their lives, whether that means through allowing them to connect with their loved ones over a meal or helping them solve a problem within the restaurant itself from the top down. Overall, I'm able to be part of that equation and part of that function, and that's what matters to me. I know that this was something that no one ever talked about with me. Instead, people just asked, what restaurant are you working in this summer? Where are you going to go after school? Are you still going to open Sheer Delight? My last name's Sheer, it's cheesy. I know. I always wanted to. For me, those were the conversations being had. Not, what if I decide not to? But for me, I needed that guidance of how do you handle leaving a career that's a big part of who you are? No one talked about how you make that transition and present yourself seriously and professionally in a setting that's completely different. Going from wearing a chef coat and the equivalent of pajama pants, I loved my chef pants so much, to wearing heels and a suit and going into an office every day. It's a different world. No one talks about that transition. For me, I would say being a chef makes me stronger. You might argue differently. I don't think I would be the consultant that I am today if I wasn't the chef that I was then. So I'm curious, what are other things that no one ever talked to you about? I'm here to break down some of those topics that we're just assumed to understand, learn, find for ourselves, but we don't. Without someone teaching you, without breaking down what it actually means to be disabled, how to survive all of the small little factors that make life so hard, those are the things I want to talk about. Because I had to figure it out for myself. How to be taken seriously when you look or act differently. How to pivot when you no longer can keep doing what you've been doing. Or even just how to tell people you're disabled when you just don't look like it. These are the things that made life so challenging for me. In my teens, in my 20s, through school, through careers, it doesn't matter. They pop up over and over, and you're not given a manual on how to tackle these things. So I'm excited to discuss them with you. And if you have any topics that you want me to break down, just drop them in the comment section down below. Thanks for spending some time here on Realistic Resilience. See you next time. Thank you. You're so supportive. Yes. All right. Okay. Let's be serious for one. Okay. Let's be serious.